JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Special thanks to Rob of Imagine That Toys to keep the breaking news coming third day in a row here, March 25th. Be sure to listen to the entire video. I'll be as brief as I can, but the Senate has passed to extend the PPP to March 31st. The House had passed it. The Senate needed to. They have, and so now the deadline is March 31st. Also included in this, the banks will have 30 days after March 31st to process and close on any PPP loans. So this should then prevent banks from stopping taking applications earlier than the deadline. It will allow then banks to take PPP applications up until May 31st. So again, PPP has been extended to May 31st. I hope you keep listening, because the big thing here is that for those of you that applied for the first time in 2021 to get the first draw of PPP, you now will be able to, hopefully, most likely, depending on when you file now for second draw. Now listen to the details of it, because it's this. You can get the second draw if you've applied for first draw and then you've waited 8 weeks. So when you get your disbursement of the first draw, 8 weeks after that, you can apply for the second draw. I do want you to keep listening till the end, because beyond this, there's one other thing I want to make sure that you're noting. But for those of you that are going to apply for the second draw, remember that there has to be a decrease in your gross receipts in any quarter in 2020 compared to the same correlating quarter in 2019. So if you meet those requirements, then you can apply for the second draw. Those that are self-employed have asked, well, do I have to have used that money in the 8 weeks? How do I show that I used the money in the 8 weeks? Or for those of you that have gotten the first draw, yes, there is a requirement that you have used up the money. But when you read in the finite detail, it's have you used or do you plan to use up all of the money? Will you use up all of the money? For the Schedule C filer, if you've not been informed, then know you're being informed now. Your PPP forgiveness, your proof of using it, is simply a calculation. The calculation is the same as the calculation you use to get the PPP. Now, here's the part that I want to make sure that you all have really tuned into here for, is that we still need the SBA to open up for those that have already filed for PPP 1 or filed for PPP 2 to be able to go back and reapply for the PPP using the brand new calculation that came out here on March 3rd. The new calculation being that for the self-employed Schedule C filer, that PPP now is based on your gross income, which is line 7 of your Schedule C. You can either use your 2019 or 2020, and you then take your line 7, no more than 100,000 will count, but your line 7 divided by 12 times 2.5. If you're in the restaurant industry, it's times 3.5. But here's the thing to note. Right now, that's not open. My hope is, and where we need to push and still request and make known that this needs to happen, is that now that PPP has been extended till the end of May, that then the SBA hopefully will then feel comfortable to open up the floodgates to those, to allow them to reapply. So we have several issues going on. Number one, PPP's been extended to May 31st. Number two, those that then potentially will hit an 8-week waiting period, this gives those more time to meet the 8-week waiting period to then apply for the second draw. Third subject is for those that already filed for first draw and second draw. We need the SBA, though, to open up for those to be able to reapply to use the new method. Now, we'll tell you this, we have a great friend of the channel who their bank allowed them to reapply for PPP 1 even though they've already gotten PPP1 and PPP2 and they're a Schedule C filer and they got it on the net, but their bank allowed them to reapply. The SBA had approved a reapply based on the gross receipts. Now, that person hasn't gotten their money yet, but the bank indicated that they submitted it and the SBA has approved it. So maybe the SBA is opening up that window. They haven't made it public yet. What can you do about that? Well, if you're in those circumstances, tweet or contact, call, email, write, reach out to your congressperson or your senator and indicate to them that you would like the SBA to extend that new calculation to those that have already applied and to be able to do it by reapplying. So stay tuned for that. This is great news that they've extended it. For those of you that have not applied for it, obviously it gives you more time. For the Schedule C filer, this is great news if you haven't filed yet, because now you can file all the way till May 31st. You'll be able to use the new calculation on line 7. For those of you that got first draw this year, this gives you a lot more time to be able to apply for the second draw, meeting that 8 weeks. For the Schedule C filer, you wait 8 weeks and you reapply. Any questions that you have, go to the bank. Can I apply? Should I apply? Then apply. Go to your bank and apply. You can't do it wrong. The SBA is not going to let you apply too early. When's your 8 weeks up? Contact your bank. When's your 8 weeks up? Well, take the date that you got first draw plus 8 weeks. That's when you can apply. Can you apply before then? Contact your bank. Here's the thing to note. For those of you that need second draw, there's no reason to look left. There's no reason to look right. There's no reason to really ask anybody any questions other than your bank, because that is who you're going to need to apply with. On those that are hoping to reapply, reach out to your bank now. Say, hey, I'd like to go ahead and reapply. I'm hearing that they are allowing this. The SBA is now allowing those that have met the 8-week waiting period that got first draw. They can now apply for second draw because there are a few that have met that 8-week waiting period. I had done a video on this earlier, and the SBA has told the banks that they are open for those to get second draw. So more of you now will have time to get it. Another reason for you to not sit around and wait if you haven't gotten PPP yet. What are you waiting on? What are you doing? Must not need the money if you're waiting. Must not need the money if you're procrastinating. You must not need the money if you're looking left and you're looking right and you're trying to figure things out. Get with the bank. They'll answer your questions, because those that can get PPP first draw their first time on or before March 31st, they will then meet the qualification of the 8-week waiting period on or before May 31st, that then would allow you to get the second draw. So the time to act is now. If you're confused on anything, guess what? You can go to sba.gov/PPP. All the information is there, but better yet, contact your bank, ask your questions of them. Again, a little bit of urgency here, because while it has been extended to May 31st, for those of you that haven't got it, you need to get it. For those of you that got it, pay attention to when your 8 weeks is up and then reapply with the bank. The bank's going to make sure you're doing it properly. The SBA is going to make sure you're doing it properly. Waiting around and asking questions and looking for reassurance elsewhere is fruitless, and it's a waste of time. You need to go directly to the source, which is the bank, to get this done. You have any questions about this, sba.gov/PPP is where you're going to get an answer based on your own research, or again, the better answer is with the bank. The reason I'm going on and on and on is to encourage those out there that are still looking left and they're still looking right and they're not doing anything, and you're losing the opportunity assuming that you need this money. All right, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe, and then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. Have a great one.